Illyra expected teeth. She expected the wet heat of breath before jaws closed around her throat, the slash of claws through silken skin, the brief sharp agony before darkness claimed her. Instead, she felt warmth. The air inside the ancient stone circle didn't reek of death and rotting meat. It smelled of pine smoke, frost-sharp wind, and something deeper, wilder, like the earth itself bleeding power. And the figures standing before her weren't mindless beasts. They were warriors, 3 massive males wrapped in wolf pelts and battle-scarred leather, their eyes burning like coals in the twilight, steam rising from their shoulders as if the cold itself feared them. Before we go any further, if stories of mercy, power, and hidden kings pull you in, tap subscribe now. This channel is where forgotten souls become legends, and tell us, where are you watching from? Now, let's begin. Illyra squeezed her silver eyes shut, every muscle locked, waiting for the killing blow. The blow never came. Instead, the ground trembled. Stone cracked. And when she forced her eyes open, the largest of the 3, a mountain of a man with a scarred face and frost clinging to his dark beard, was on his knees. Ice splintered across his chest like breaking glass. If you're already hooked on Illyra's story, imagine what happens next. But before we get there, before we see how a girl meant to die became the one thing these warriors couldn't live without, let me take you back 6 hours to where this nightmare truly began. The cold had claws. Illyra felt them sink into her lungs with every breath, felt them drag down her spine with every gust of wind that tore across the mountain path. The white silk dress, so soft and reverent when Elder Merton had draped it over her shoulders in the village square, was now a frozen shroud. It clung to her skin, soaked through with snow and sweat, offering no protection against the wind that howled down from the peaks like something alive and hungry. Her wrists burned beneath the iron bindings. The metal was ceremonial, meant to mark her as tribute, but all it did was bite deeper into her flesh with every stumbling step, leaving raw rings of agony around bones that felt ready to snap. She kept her eyes on the snow, watching her bare feet turn from pink to white to a deathly blue-gray against the endless white. The hunters had taken her boots. Sacrifices don't need boots, Vex had said, his scarred face twisted with something between pity and satisfaction. The dead don't walk home, girl. Behind her, the valley had disappeared. She couldn't see the village anymore, couldn't see the smoke from the chimneys or the warm glow of the tavern windows. Couldn't see the faces of the people who had stood in that square with relief bleeding from their eyes when her name was called instead of their daughters' names. Better you than us. Better the cursed one than our innocent children. The thought burned hotter than the cold that was slowly killing her. Illyra's cousin Senna was only 17, soft-voiced and gentle-hearted, with lungs that rattled every winter and hands too delicate for anything rougher than embroidery. Senna, who cried when the barn cat died. Senna, who had stood in the square that morning dressed in the same white silk, trembling like a leaf in a storm as Elder Merton read her name from the ancient tithe scroll. Senna, who would have died before she reached the first ridge. So Illyra had stepped forward. She'd ripped the veil from Senna's blonde hair and wrapped it around her own dark head. She'd thrust her wrists toward the hunters, demanding the bindings. She'd walked into the blizzard before anyone could stop her, before her aunt could scream, before Senna could beg her not to go. The elders had tried to argue. The tithe had requirements: unmarried, untouched, between 18 and 25, and, most importantly, willing. But Illyra met every condition. She was 22. She'd never lain with a man. And she'd offered herself with her eyes open and her voice steady. The elders had no grounds to refuse, even if they'd wanted to. Even if Elder Merton had looked at her silver eyes with something like fear twisting his wrinkled face. The wind screamed. Illyra's knees buckled, her legs finally surrendering to the cold that had invaded her muscles, turning them to stone. She caught herself against a jagged outcrop of rock, her palms splitting open against the ice-slicked surface. Pain exploded up her arms, so sharp it dragged a gasp from her throat that came out as frozen mist. Blood welled up, hot and impossibly red against the white. She stared at it, mesmerized. It was the first color she'd seen in hours. The first proof she was still alive. Get up. Her body screamed in protest. Her fingers were numb, unresponsive. Her heartbeat was wrong, too slow, too faint, like it was forgetting how to beat. But she forced herself upright, forced her legs to lock, forced herself to take another step. Because the alternative was freezing to death on this mountainside, and she hadn't come this far to die alone in the snow. She'd come to save Senna, even if it meant walking to her own execution. The path narrowed. Sheer cliff face on her left, endless drop on her right. The wind hit her broadside, nearly ripping her from the mountain entirely. Illyra slammed against the rock wall, her shoulder cracking against stone, and for a terrifying moment, she thought her legs would give out completely. But then she saw them. Wolves. Massive shapes moving through the storm like shadows with eyes. They paced alongside her, close enough that she could see their breath, close enough that she should have been terrified. But they didn't attack. They didn't even growl. They just watched. Escorted her, like honor guards leading a condemned prisoner to the gallows. Something about that was worse than teeth. The temperature dropped so suddenly that the rocks around her cracked from the shock, splitting with sounds like breaking bones. Illyra's dress stiffened, the fabric crystallizing against her skin. She could no longer feel her feet. Could barely feel her legs. But she kept moving, one step, then another, driven by nothing but stubborn will. Then she saw the corpses. They were preserved in ice, frozen mid-scream or mid-prayer, girls in white silk just like her. Some looked young, 15, maybe 16. Others looked older, harder, like they'd fought against their fate. But they'd all ended the same way, dead before they ever reached the alphas they'd been sent to appease. They all died on the journey, Illyra realized with numb horror. The alphas never even saw them. How many years had the villagers been doing this? Sending girls to die of exposure and calling it sacrifice? Ahead, through the swirling snow, she saw light. Not firelight, something colder, sharper, like moonlight concentrated into physical form. Ancient standing stones emerged from the storm, carved with symbols that seemed to pulse with dying luminescence. The bonding circle. She'd heard stories about it her whole life, where the frozen alphas waited, where tributes went to die. And standing at its center were three figures. Even from a distance, even through the storm, Illyra could see they were enormous. Not in the way of tall men, but in the way of predators, all coiled power and lethal grace. They wore furs and leather armor decorated with wolf skulls and frozen runes. Their eyes caught the strange light, reflecting it back like animals caught in lantern glow. The frozen alphas. The monsters who'd cursed the land. The beasts who demanded blood every 20 years to hold back the eternal winter. Illyra's strange heat vision flickered to life, a talent she'd always hidden, always been punished for. In her sight, living things glowed with inner warmth. The wolves around her burned like small suns. But the three warriors ahead. They were cold. Not just cold, they were dying, their life heat flickering like candles in a hurricane. Illyra's legs gave out. She collapsed at the edge of the circle, her body finally surrendering. But even as she fell, even as her vision tunneled and her hearing faded to nothing but her own labored breathing, she saw movement. The largest alpha surged forward. Up close, he was terrifying, easily 6'8", with shoulders broad enough to block out the sky, dark hair threaded with premature gray, and a face carved from violence and loss. Scars crossed his jaw, his throat, his arms. And spreading across his chest, visible through torn leather. Ice. Crystalline ice growing inside his skin like a disease. His eyes, one dark amber, one pale and clouded, locked onto hers. And in them, she saw shock. Wonder. Hope. Warmth. He rasped, his voice like grinding glacier. You're warm. Then his knees hit the stone, and the impossible happened. The monster bowed before the sacrifice. Illyra woke to warmth. Not the pale, insufficient heat of village hearths or the desperate friction of bodies huddled against winter. Real warmth. The kind that sank into bones and made breathing feel effortless instead of like swallowing shards of ice. She lay cocooned in furs, thick, impossibly soft wolf pelts that smelled of pine smoke and something wild she couldn't name. Above her, rough stone arched into darkness. A fire crackled somewhere close, casting dancing shadows across unfamiliar walls. Her body ached. Every muscle screamed protest when she tried to sit up, reminding her of the climb, the cold, the impossible journey that should have killed her. Her feet throbbed, wrapped in clean bandages that hadn't been there before. Someone had tended her wounds. Someone had brought her inside. The memories crashed back. The stone circle. The three figures. The largest one collapsing to his knees, reaching for her with a hand half consumed by ice. His desperate gasp, warmth. You're awake. Illyra jerked upright, ignoring her body's protests. 3 massive shapes materialized from the shadows, moving with predatory grace that made her instincts scream run. But there was nowhere to run. And even if there had been, her legs wouldn't have carried her. The one who'd spoken stood closest, leaner than the others, dark-haired, with features sharp enough to cut. His eyes tracked her every movement with unsettling intensity. When firelight caught his left arm, Illyra saw it, crystalline ice spreading from shoulder to elbow like frozen lightning caught beneath skin. "What are you?" His voice was rough, suspicious. "You smell human, but you burn like pack." Her throat was raw from screaming, from cold, from everything. "I don't know what I am. My village called me cursed." Cursed? The second man, light-haired, with amber eyes that held something like hope, stepped forward. His hands bore the same crystalline corruption, ice webbing through fingers that had probably once healed instead of harmed. "May I?" Illyra didn't know what he was asking permission for, but she nodded. Survival meant cooperation. Survival meant answers. He knelt beside her furs, and she saw the scars decorating his forearms, ritual marks, precise and purposeful. When his fingers touched her wrist, checking her pulse, she felt his skin, cold, but not dead. "Not yet. She has wolf-touched blood," he said, glancing at the others. "Dormant, but present. That's why she survived the climb." He met Illyra's eyes. "You should have frozen to death hours before you reached us. But something in your blood kept you warm." "My grandmother." The words escaped before Illyra could stop them. The hunter said she had demon eyes too. That she deserved what she got. The 3 men exchanged looks heavy with meaning. "Not demon," the amber-eyed one said gently. "Wolf." The largest one finally moved into the light, and Illyra's breath caught. He was the one who'd collapsed before her, the one whose ice-covered chest had cracked when she'd stumbled into the circle. Now she could see him clearly, massive build, easily 6'8", with a dark beard shot through with frost that looked permanent. His left eye was pale, scarred, but the right blazed with intensity that made her want to look away. Battle scars covered every visible inch of him, and ice, that same crystalline corruption, consumed half his torso, creeping toward his heart. He was dying. They were all dying. "You're Roth." She didn't know how she knew, but the certainty settled in her chest like truth. His scarred face registered surprise. "How?" "I felt it. When you collapsed. I felt you dying." Illyra pressed a hand to her sternum, where warmth still pulsed. "I can still feel it." The lean one, keen, she somehow knew, tensed. "That's impossible. The bond doesn't form from simple contact." "It shouldn't," the healer agreed. "I'm Marek, by the way. Since we're apparently connected now." His tone held wry humor that didn't match the fear in his eyes. Roth lowered himself to sit, carefully, like movement caused pain, and fixed Illyra with that burning stare. "You want answers. So do we. Let's start with why you're not dead." "Comforting. Would you prefer I lie?" His scarred mouth quirked. "You climbed a frozen mountain barefoot. You entered cursed territory. You touched me, and my ice receded. Nothing about you makes sense, girl." "Illyra. My name is Illyra." "Illyra." The way he said it felt like a claim. "Tell us about your grandmother." So she did. The pieces she knew, anyway, the whispers about silver eyes and demon blood, the way villagers had crossed themselves when her grandmother passed, the hushed story about her being found half-frozen in the woods as a young woman, with no memory of where she'd come from. How she'd married a human man, had children with normal eyes, and everyone thought the curse had skipped a generation. Until Illyra was born. She was exiled, Marek said when she finished. From a wolf clan, probably. They would have stripped her memories to keep pack secrets safe. "But the blood remains," Keen added, studying Illyra like a puzzle. "Dormant, but there. Waiting. For what?" "For this." Roth leaned forward, and Illyra saw how much the movement cost him. Ice crackled across his chest with the shift. "For us." Marek stood, pacing before the fire. "You deserve the truth. All of it." He glanced at his brothers, because that's what they were, Illyra realized, not by blood but by something deeper. 300 years ago, We were war alphas of the great northern pack. The strongest warriors, sworn to protect our people. His voice took on the cadence of old stories, and Illyra listened as he painted the past. A southern king named Tyron the Conqueror, who demanded they massacre a rival pack's women and children to prevent future uprisings. Their refusal. The blood which hired to punish them. You chose ice over fire, Roth quoted, his voice hollow. Let ice claim you slowly, until you're nothing but statues of your betrayal. The curse spreads through our bodies, Keen continued, running his good hand over his corrupted arm. Turning us to living ice. It also affects the land, eternal winter spreading from our territory. But it's not just you freezing, Illyra said, pieces clicking together. The whole north. The failed harvests. The villages starving. That's you dying. That's us dying, Roth confirmed. Every 20 years, the curse accelerates unless warmed by a willing bond. The villages were supposed to send bonding tributes, women with wolf blood who could share warmth through the ancient pack bond. But fear corrupted the tradition. Understanding hit like a physical blow. They started sending sacrifices instead. Girls meant to die. Most died of exposure before arriving, Marek said quietly. The few who made it alive died of fear when they saw us. 3 centuries of terror, and not one has survived long enough to attempt the bond. Until you. Roth's gaze held hers. You didn't run. You didn't scream. You touched me, and for the first time in 300 years, my heart beat warm. Illyra remembered the moment, the crack of ice, the burst of heat, the way Roth had gasped like a drowning man finally breaking surface. She also remembered the price, collapsing, nose bleeding, everything burning. You were killing yourself, Keen said bluntly. Burning yourself out to warm him. The curse will take all of you and still not break. Then what was the point? Frustration sharpened her voice. Why bring me inside? Why tend my wounds? Why not just let the cold finish what the village started? Roth stood, a slow, careful unfolding that suggested every movement was a battle. He crossed to where she sat, ice crackling with each step, and lowered himself to one knee. Up close, she could see the crystalline corruption spreading across his collarbone, creeping toward his throat. Because you reminded me what warmth feels like, he said simply. And I'm selfish enough to want more of it, even if it's only for a few days. Days. Marek's expression was grim. If the curse isn't broken within the next full moon, 7 days, all 3 of us will crystallize completely. When we die, the winter becomes permanent. The entire northern territory will become a frozen wasteland. Thousands will starve, Keen added. Maybe tens of thousands. The weight of it pressed down on Illyra's chest. She'd climbed the mountain to save Senna. But she'd stumbled into something so much larger, 3 dying warriors carrying the survival of half the continent on their shoulders. That's why the winters keep getting worse, she whispered. You're dying. We're already dead. Roth's voice held 3 centuries of exhaustion. We've been dead for longer than your village has existed. Then why does your ice melt when I'm near you? Silence. Even Keen had no answer. Marek broke it finally. There's one way to know for certain. He looked at his brothers, then back to Illyra. An experiment. You would have to touch Roth's curse mark directly. The ice over his heart. And if I'm wrong? Keen demanded. If she's a trap? He'll shatter. Roth laughed, a bitter, broken sound. I'm shattering anyway, brother. Illyra pushed herself to standing, ignoring protesting muscles. Her bare feet touched cold stone, and she walked to where Roth knelt. This close, she could see the ice pulsing with each sluggish heartbeat, could feel the wrongness of it radiating outward. What do I do? Place your palm over my heart. And don't let go, no matter what happens. She raised her hand, hesitated for just a breath, then pressed her palm flat against his chest. Ice cracked. Light burst from beneath her hand, not the cold blue of winter, but blazing gold like summer sun. Roth gasped, his whole body convulsing, and Illyra felt it, felt the curse recoiling, felt warmth flooding through frozen channels, felt his heart suddenly beat strong and fast and alive. Then the pain hit. Her blood turned to fire in her veins. Every nerve ending screamed. She tasted copper, felt wetness on her upper lip, knew she was bleeding but couldn't stop, wouldn't stop, because Roth's ice was melting and his eyes were clearing, and for the first time in 300 years he was warm. Hands caught her as her legs gave out. Marek's voice, distant and alarmed, she's burning herself out to warm him. Keen, horrified, it's not enough. The curse will take all of her and still not break. Illyra's vision flickered between consciousness and darkness. But before the black swallowed her completely, she felt Roth's hand, warm now, blessedly warm, cup her face. Stay with us, he whispered. Please. Then nothing. Illyra woke to ice against her skin. Not the killing cold of the mountain, but medicinal coolness, ice packs pressed to her forehead, her chest, her wrists. Her body felt like it had been thrown into a forge. Every breath burned. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears, too fast, too hard. Fever of 104, Marek's voice, tight with worry. It's been a full day. A day. She'd lost a day. Illyra forced her eyes open. She was in a different space than before, smaller, more intimate. Fairs surrounded her like a nest, and the walls bore marks of habitation. Weapons hung on pegs, a carved wooden chest, the lingering scent of pine and male musk. Personal space. Roth sat beside her, vigil still. In the dim light, she could see his chest. The ice had receded. Not gone entirely, but drawn back from his heart, leaving pink new skin beneath. He was healing. Because of her. You're in my den, he said quietly, catching her stare. Alphas don't share personal space. But you needed somewhere safe. Safe from what? From yourself. His scarred mouth twisted. You nearly killed yourself trying to save me. Outside, she heard pacing, restless, angry footsteps. Keen, she knew without asking. The bond whispered his agitation through her blood. He wants to send you away, Roth continued. Before you burn yourself to ash trying to heal us. And you. I stopped hoping 200 years ago. His good eye caught firelight, burning amber. Then you climbed into our circle and reminded me what warmth feels like. Selfish as it is, I want you to stay. The raw honesty stole her breath. This wasn't a monster. This was a man who'd carried impossible weight for 3 centuries, watching everything he loved scatter and die, knowing he was the reason winters wouldn't end. I didn't come here to die, Illyra said, voice rough. I came here so my cousin wouldn't have to. Noble. Roth leaned forward, and she saw the cost of movement. Ice still crackled through his ribs, his shoulder. But you're not leaving. The moment you touched me, you marked yourself. The curse will track you now. If you return to your village, the winter follows you. Horror settled cold in her stomach. I can't go home. Heat flooded Illyra's face. She'd never been with anyone. The village boys had avoided her, afraid of her silver eyes and the rumors they carried. And now she was expected to, with 3. We'll be gentle, Roth said quietly, reading her panic. The bond will guide us. You'll feel what we feel. You'll know you're safe. Safe. Keen's laugh held no humor. The ritual might kill her anyway. The shock of bonding with 3 alphas at once could stop her heart. Then I'll die trying. The words came out sharper than intended. I'm not backing out because you're trying to scare me. Keen studied her with those 2 sharp eyes. Good. Fear makes you hesitate. Hesitation gets you killed. He stood, motioning for her to follow. If you're staying, you need to not be useless. Let's go. Go where? Training. The next 3 days blurred together in a haze of exhausted muscle and new knowledge. Keen taught her to move through snow without sound, to read tracks, to defend herself with knife and claw. She was clumsy at first, her human body not yet understanding the wolf instincts awakening beneath her skin. But stubbornness carried her through. Marek taught her pack history between drills, the old tongue's guttural syllables, meditation techniques to strengthen her mind for the soul link, stories of bonds that had succeeded and the more numerous ones that had failed. Most humans can't handle the sensory overload, he explained. Wolf senses are overwhelming, smells, sounds, instincts that don't translate to human experience. Your mind has to be flexible enough to adapt, or it shatters. Comforting, Illyra muttered, but she practiced the breathing exercises until she could slip into meditation even with chaos around her. Roth taught her wolf behavior in the evenings, after her body screamed too loudly for more physical training. How to read the angle of ears, the set of shoulders. When to submit to pack hierarchy and when to challenge it. You'll be bonded to 3 alphas, he said, watching her attempt to hold eye contact without flinching. That makes you alpha by extension. The pack will test you. You need to know how to respond. What if I respond wrong? Then they'll see you as weak. And they'll suffer under a weak queen. His scarred face softened slightly. But you're not weak. You just don't know your strength yet. On the first evening, after Illyra collapsed from exhaustion, Marek found her by the fire. He sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched, and stared into the flames for long minutes before speaking. I had a mate once. Before the chaos. His voice carried centuries of grief. Human, like you. She was fierce and brilliant and kind. We had 4 to 7 years together before age took her. I stayed young while she grew old. He turned to Illyra, amber eyes bright with unshed tears. I've been alone for 250 years. I forgot what it feels like to hope. Illyra took his cursed hand, the one webbed with ice that made healing impossible. His fingers were cold, but when she held them, the ice receded fractionally. Just breathing room, but it was something. You're not alone anymore, she said simply. Marek's breath hitched. Then he leaned forward and pressed his forehead to hers, a wolf gesture of trust and affection she was learning to recognize. They stayed like that until the fire burned low, sharing warmth and silence. The second night, during a hunting lesson, a starving bear ambushed them. It happened fast. One moment Illyra was tracking deer prints through the snow, the next a massive shape exploded from the trees with a roar that shook her bones. Keen shoved her behind him, shifting partially, claws extending. But his cursed arm wouldn't move properly. The ice had spread during exertion, locking the limb rigid. The bear charged. Keen dodged right but couldn't use his left side for balance. He went down hard, the bear's weight crushing him into the snow. Illyra didn't think. Thinking meant hesitation, and Keen had taught her hesitation meant death. She grabbed a fallen branch from the fire they'd used to melt snow, its end still blazing, and charged screaming. The bear reared back from Keen, confused by this small human wielding fire. Illyra swung the branch at its face, connected with a sickening crack. The beast roared, swiping at her with claws that whistled past her head. She felt the wind of its passing, smelled the rot on its breath. Then Keen was on his feet, his good hand transformed into claws that tore into the bear's flank. The animal fled, blood painting the snow, leaving them gasping in the aftermath. Keen stared at her, chest heaving. You should have run. I don't abandon my pack. Something shifted in his expression, suspicion cracking like ice under pressure. He reached out slowly, carefully, and touched her face with his good hand. The gesture was almost tender. You really believe that? You've been pack for 3 days and you already believe it. Yes. Foolish woman. But there was no heat in the words. He pulled her close, pressing his face into her hair, breathing her in. Brave, stupid, impossible woman. They stayed like that while snow fell around them, 2 people learning what it meant to be pack. The third dawn, Roth took her to a hidden hot spring deep in the mountains. Steam rose from the water in lazy curls, creating a pocket of warmth in the frozen landscape. It was the most beautiful thing Illyra had seen since arriving. One of the few places still warm, Roth explained, beginning to remove his armor. The curse hasn't claimed it yet. Illyra watched as he stripped away layers, leather, fur, mail, revealing the full extent of his chaos. Ice consumed half his torso, spreading from his heart in crystalline branches that looked like frozen lightning. The skin around it was mottled purple and blue, dying by degrees. I won't survive the week without the bond. His voice was matter-of-fact, but his hands shook as he spoke. If this fails, promise me you'll let Keen take you somewhere safe. South, past the territories. He'll protect you. I'm not making that promise. Roth looked up, surprised. Illyra. I'm not leaving. I'm not running. And I'm not giving up on you. She stepped closer, close enough to see the frost in his beard, the pale scar bisecting his left eye. So stop asking me to. Stubborn woman. Stubborn wolf. He laughed, rough and unexpected, and then his hand was in her hair, tilting her face up. His kiss tasted like winter and smoke and something darker, wild, alive. Not gentle, but not demanding. A question asking permission. Illyra answered by pressing closer, hands finding the warm skin below his curse, feeling his heartbeat stutter and race under her palms. The kiss deepened, heated, until they were both gasping. But when Roth's hands moved to her waist, he stopped. Not yet, he breathed against her mouth. When we bond, it needs to be all of us. Together. Or the magic won't anchor properly. Practical. Torturous. He rested his forehead against hers. But worth the wait. They spent the rest of the morning in the hot spring, talking about everything and nothing, his memories of the pack before the curse, her childhood on the edges of village life, the future they might build if the ritual succeeded. As the sun rose higher, Roth traced the line of her jaw with gentle fingers. You know what you're walking into? Really no. Yes. You'll be tied to us forever. Our battles, our enemies, our fate. If one of us falls, you'll feel it. If we hurt, you'll hurt. There's no distance, no privacy. Our thoughts will bleed into yours and yours into ours. I know. And you still want this. Illyra caught his hand, pressed it over her heart where warmth pulsed. I want this. The fourth day dawned cold and clear, the day before the full moon. The day before everything changed or ended. Preparations began at sunrise. Thyra and the pack gathered sacred items. The ceremonial chalice carved from ancient bone, oils blessed by old Fenric, fairs to line the bonding circle. The alphas spent the morning in meditation, preparing their minds for the soul link. Illyra bathed in the hot spring, washing away sweat and exhaustion, trying to calm racing thoughts. Tonight she would either become pack or die trying. There was no middle ground. As the sun began its descent, Marek found her. It's time. The pack gathered around the bonding circle as evening fell. This would be witnessed, as tradition demanded. Thyra lit sacred fires at the cardinal points. Fenric blessed the stones with words so old even the alphas didn't know their full meaning. Illyra stepped into the circle wearing white, not the death shroud from before, but simple wool that symbolized new beginnings. The three alphas waited, Roth to the north, Keen to the east, Marek to the south. She took her place at the west. Marek held the chalice and the silver ritual blade. Blood oath first. The foundation of pack. Each alpha cut their palm, let blood drip into the chalice. When Illyra's turn came, the blade bit sharp and cold. Her blood mixed with theirs, and the mixture ignited. Golden light blazed from the chalice, bright enough to hurt. Gasps erupted from the watching wolves. That's never happened before, Marek breathed, staring at the glowing blood. Fenric's voice rang out from the crowd. She's not dormant wolf-touched. She's first blood. Direct descent from the original packs. The revelation rippled through the gathering. First blood, the ancient lines that had founded the clans, whose strength ran undiluted. Not just compatible with the alphas. Royal. The alphas exchanged looks of shock and hope. Roth spoke first, voice carrying ancient power. I bind my strength to yours. Your battles are mine. Keen followed. I bind my loyalty to yours. Your enemies are mine. Marek completed the trinity. I bind my soul to yours. Your pain is mine. Illyra's turn. The response had to be perfect. One phrase binding her to all three simultaneously. I bind my warmth to yours. Your curse is mine. The moment she spoke, temperature plummeted. Ice exploded outward from the alphas like breaking glass. The curse fought back, 3 centuries of dark magic resisting destruction. Then arrows flew from the trees. Silver-tipped, trailing smoke that smelled wrong. One punched into Keen's shoulder and his scream split the night. The curse accelerated violently, ice racing down his arm in seconds, consuming muscle and bone. We're under attack. Thyra roared, shifting to wolf form. The Iron Claw mercenaries charged from the darkness, 20 armed humans with silver weapons and hate in their eyes. Captain Dane led them, crossbow raised. Roth tried to move but the interrupted ritual left him vulnerable, ice spreading from the shock. Marek grabbed Illyra, trying to pull her to safety. She yanked free. If we don't finish the ritual, the curse will kill all of you. Dane's crossbow aimed at her heart. Nothing personal, girl. But you're worth more dead than alive. The arrow released. Time slowed. Illyra saw the trajectory, knew she couldn't dodge. And in that frozen moment, she understood, she was about to die before saving anyone. Then Roth threw himself in front of her. The arrow meant for her heart buried itself in his shoulder instead. The witch poison hit Roth's system like liquid fire. Illyra caught him as he collapsed, his massive weight driving them both to their knees. Ice exploded across his body, not the slow creep of the curse, but violent crystallization that spread from the wound like shattered glass. His neck. His face. Frost crawled over his scarred eye, turning it milky white. No. Illyra pressed her hands to his chest, but the ice was too fast, too aggressive. Marek. The poison, it's accelerating the chaos. Marek dropped beside them, hands already glowing with failing healing magic. He has minutes. Maybe less. Around them, chaos erupted. Keen shifted into a massive black wolf despite his poisoned shoulder, tearing into mercenaries with savage efficiency. Thyra and the pack joined the battle, wolves against armed humans, blood staining pristine snow. Old Fenric moved with unexpected speed, snapping a mercenary's neck with his bare hands. Captain Dane fought toward Illyra, silver blade raised. Should have died on the mountain, girl. Something inside Illyra snapped. Heat exploded from her body, the incomplete bond reacting to her rage, to her terror, to the sight of Roth dying in her arms. Her silver eyes ignited with golden light. When Dane reached for her, she didn't flinch. She grabbed his wrist. Her touch burned him. Dane screamed, his skin blistering and blackening under her fingers. He tried to pull away but she held on, fury giving her strength she shouldn't possess. What the fuck are you? I'm the one who's going to break this curse. Her voice loud, human and something other. She released him, and he stumbled back, cradling his ruined wrist. Marek grabbed her shoulder, yanking her attention back to Roth. His lips were turning blue. Ice crystallized over his eyes. Each breath came slower than the last. There's only one way to save him. Marek's voice was desperate. We complete the bond. Now. But the ritual, it's not finished. Keen appeared beside them, reverting to human form. Blood streaked his chest from mercenaries he'd killed, and his poisoned arm hung useless, but his eyes were sharp. Then we finish it. Or we lose him. No ceremony. No witnesses paying proper attention. Half the pack was still fighting, driving back the remaining mercenaries. Just survival. Just 3 people refusing to let a 4th die. Marek spoke the final vows over Roth's body, words rushing together in the old tongue. Illyra cut her palm deeper, let her blood drip directly onto the ice covering Roth's heart. Golden light burst from the wound. The ice began to crack. But it wasn't enough. The bond needs the final stage. Marek's hands shook. Physical union. It's the only way to anchor his soul. Illyra didn't hesitate. Then do it. They worked together, Marek and Keen helping remove Roth's frozen armor while Illyra stripped away her ceremonial dress with numb fingers. Around them, the battle raged. Fire and blood and screaming. But in the center of the bonding circle, there was only desperate purpose. Roth was barely conscious when Illyra straddled him, his heart beat a faint flutter under her palm. She leaned down, pressed her lips to his icy ones, breathed warmth into his lungs. Don't you dare leave me, Roth. Marek and Keen placed their hands on her back, channeling their remaining strength through the incomplete bond. The connection formed, jagged, desperate, raw. Illyra felt their pain flooding her mind, Keen's fury, Marek's terror, Roth's fading consciousness. The moment she and Roth connected, the bond exploded into full manifestation. Power slammed through Illyra like lightning. She gasped, suddenly overwhelmed by sensation. She could feel everything. Roth's pain, sharp and immediate. Keen's poisoned shoulder burning. Marek's exhaustion threatening to pull him under. Centuries of memories crashed through her mind. Battles fought, loves lost, the endless weight of the curse pressing down. The ice covering Roth shattered. He gasped awake, his hand flying to her hip, grip almost bruising. His eyes, both of them now, the scarred one clearing, burned amber and alive. The curse mark on his chest cracked like breaking glass, golden light pouring through the fissures. But the feedback was too much. Illyra convulsed, the shock of bonding with 3 alphas simultaneously hitting her system like a physical blow. Blood poured from her nose, her ears. Her heart stuttered, trying to accommodate 3 additional life forces suddenly tangled with her own. Too much. Too fast. Her body couldn't handle it. She collapsed off Roth, and Keen caught her before she hit stone. We're losing her. No. Roth struggled upright, moving faster than he had in years. The curse had released him, not completely, patches of ice remained, but he was mobile, alive. He cradled Illyra against his chest. You don't get to save us and then leave. She's not dying. Marek's hand pressed to her chest, feeling the wild arrhythmia of her heart. She's changing. The bond is remaking her. Illyra's body temperature spiked to 108 degrees. Her bones cracked and reformed under her skin. She screamed, the sound inhuman, as her senses ignited. Suddenly she could hear heartbeats a mile away, the mercenaries retreating, the wolves celebrating victory, small creatures hiding in the snow. She smelled fear on the wind, blood and smoke and something wild she recognized as pack. Her canines elongated. Nails sharpened to claws. Her silver eyes snapped open, now burning with inner golden light that had nothing to do with the fire. The transformation wasn't complete. She hung suspended between human and wolf, something other. Something new. The surviving wolves approached slowly, blooded from battle, staring at Illyra with something like awe. Thyra was first to bow, lowering her grey head. The curse is broken. One by one, the pack followed. Even old Fenric knelt, ancient joints creaking. The frozen alphas have their queen. Captain Dane, still alive despite his burned wrist, tried to crawl away through the snow. Illyra's head snapped toward him with predatory precision. She moved faster than human, crossed 30 feet in a heartbeat, and grabbed him by the throat, lifting him off the ground with impossible strength. Her voice lied now, human and wolf speaking simultaneously. Tell my village what you saw here. Tell them the sacrifice lived. Tell them the monsters have a queen. She threw him into the snow. He scrambled up and ran, and she let him go. Let him carry the message south. Everything had changed. Dawn broke over the mountains as Illyra stood in the center of the bonding circle, surrounded by carnage and celebration. The temperature had risen noticeably. She could feel it through the bond, the curse releasing its grip on the land degree by degree. Ice melted, revealing green underneath. Roth's hand settled on her shoulder, warm and solid. Keen stood at her back, his poisoned arm already healing now that the bond fed him strength. Marek laced his fingers with hers, and she felt his quiet joy through the connection. You did it, Marek breathed. 300 years, and you broke it in 4 days. The pack howled, not mourning, but celebration. The sound echoed through the mountains, and for the first time in centuries, it sounded like hope. Illyra looked down at her clawed hands, felt the new strength coiled in her muscles, the wolf consciousness pressing against her mind. She wasn't the girl who'd climbed this mountain. That girl had died the moment she'd accepted the bond. Something fiercer had taken her place. I'm not human anymore, she said softly. No. Roth's arms wrapped around her from behind. Your pack. You're ours. Your queen. And as the sun broke through clouds for the first time in weeks, warming frozen earth, Illyra felt the rightness of it settle into her bones. She was exactly where she was meant to be. 2 days after the bonding, the northern wastes transformed before their eyes. Snow melted in steady streams, revealing frozen meadows that hadn't seen sun in decades. Animals emerged from hibernation, confused, hungry, but alive. The wolves rebuilt their territory with fevered energy, constructing dens and marking boundaries. Winter's stranglehold was finally loosening. But inside the alpha's shared den, Illyra wrestled with her transformation. She woke surrounded by warm bodies. Bonded packs didn't separate, she'd learned. The 3 alphas slept close, and she felt their dreams through the connection, Roth reliving battles, Keen hunting in endless forests, Marek searching for something lost. Their emotions bled into hers constantly. Love, protectiveness, occasional frustration when she pushed too hard during training. Her body was still adjusting. Heightened senses meant every sound was amplified. She could hear mice in the walls, conversations 100 yards away, the pulse of blood through veins. Smells overwhelmed her, pack musk and human sweat, cooking meat and melting snow, the sharp tang of fear when strangers approached their territory. And the hunger. God, the hunger. She craved raw meat with disturbing intensity, Had nearly attacked a pack member yesterday when he'd gotten between her and fresh kill. Normal, Marek assured her, examining her eyes. The gold was permanent now, threaded through the silver. Your wolf is waking up. It takes time to balance both sides. Can I still shift? Into full wolf form? Eventually. But first blood wolves are rare. Your wolf will be larger, stronger than normal pack members. The transformation might be violent the first few times. Something to look forward to. Keen appeared in the den entrance, face grim. Thyra's back from patrol. We have a problem. The problem was refugees. Dozens of humans stood at the territory border, gaunt, desperate, wearing rags that had once been winter clothes. Some were from villages destroyed by the eternal winter. Others had fled violence, starvation, collapsing societies. They wanted sanctuary. Keen's rage was palpable through the bond. They sent our mate to die. Now they want our protection. They are starving. Wrath studied the ragged crowd with conflicted eyes. We don't turn away the helpless. They are not helpless. They are opportunists who smell weakness. Keen's good hand clenched. The moment we show mercy, more will come. We'll be overrun. Thyra waited for orders, caught between her alpha's disagreement. The pack watched to see how their new queen would rule. Illyra stepped forward. The decision crystallized with sudden clarity. Let them come. But not as refugees. All eyes turned to her. They come as subjects. If they want protection, they swear fealty to the pack. They follow our laws. They contribute, build, hunt, whatever skills they have. And they answer to us. She met Keen's challenging stare. We're not a charity. We're a kingdom. Act like it. Silence. Then Marek laughed, surprised and impressed. You're thinking like an alpha. I'm thinking like someone who knows what it's like to be thrown away. Illyra turned to Thyra. Bring them in. Get them fed. Then we sort out who stays and who's. More trouble than they are worth. Thyra bowed, a gesture of respect, not submission. Yes, my queen. As the beater left to execute orders, Wrath pulled Illyra close. You're establishing dominance. Making it clear you're not just mate, but ruler. Is that wrong? No. It's perfect. He kissed her temple. But it will make enemies. Not everyone wants a human-born queen. I'm not human anymore. No, Keen agreed, grudging respect in his voice. You're not. Meanwhile, in Illyra's former village, Captain Dane stumbled back half-frozen and traumatized. He collapsed in the town square, and when villagers gathered, he told them everything. The bonding ritual. The battle. The girl who'd burned him with her touch. How the curse was breaking, the alphas healing, winter retreating. Elder Merton refused to believe it. Impossible. No human can bond with multiple alphas. She's not human anymore. Dane's voice shook. I saw her move. I saw her change. You didn't send them a sacrifice. You sent them a queen. Panic spread through the village like wildfire. If the alphas recovered fully, they'd come for revenge. 3 centuries of lies, of intentionally sending girls to die, it would all be exposed. Elder Merton made a desperate decision that night, gathering the village council in secret. We attack first. Before they are fully healed. Attack. One councilman paled. They are alphas. We're farmers. They are wounded. Recovering. If we strike now, with enough numbers and silver weapons, we can end this. Merton's eyes gleamed with fanatic conviction. The girl is their weakness. Kill her, the bond breaks. The curse returns. They die, and we survive. He sent messengers to neighboring villages, spreading propaganda. The frozen alphas had turned a witch into their weapon. She'd bring destruction to all human settlements. Join us, destroy them, and claim their fertile territory. Fear and greed worked their magic. 200 humans gathered over the next day, farmers with pitchforks, hunters with silver-tipped arrows, a few rogue shifters who'd been cast from their packs. An army born from desperation and lies. At the pack territory, a young wolf named Pip staggered back from a scouting mission, wounded and exhausted. Keen had sent him to spy on the villages, and what he'd learned made the alphas tense. An army, Pip gasped. 200, maybe more. They'll be here in 2 days. The pack erupted in worried murmurs. They had numbers, but many were refugees, non-combatants, children, elders. A direct battle would be slaughter on both sides. Keen immediately began planning defenses. We fortify the mountain passes. Set traps. Make them bleed for every foot they gain. We could evacuate the refugees, Marek suggested. Get them to safety before. No. Illyra's voice cut through the planning. Cold fury settled over her features, and through the bond, the alphas felt it, not fear, but rage. I'm done running from them. Roth studied her carefully. They outnumber us 5-1. Then we don't fight them with numbers. Illyra met each alpha's gaze. We fight them with truth. She outlined her plan: go to the village before the army arrived. Confront Elder Merton publicly. Force him to admit the truth about the sacrifices, that they were meant to be bonding tributes, not death sentences. That the elders had corrupted tradition out of fear. The alphas were horrified. They'll kill you on sight, Roth said flatly. Not if I bring proof. Illyra turned to Marek. The bonding circle. You said it's carved with the original treaty. Yes. 500 years old. It establishes the tribute as a bonding ritual, not a sacrifice. Then we bring evidence. We turn the villagers against their leaders. Illyra's jaw set. I won't slaughter an army of starving farmers who've been lied to their whole lives. It's insane, Keen muttered. It's the only way to stop this without massive bloodshed. Silence stretched as the alphas weighed her plan through the bond. Finally, Roth nodded. We go together. All 4 of us. And if it fails? Keen demanded. Then we fight. Illyra's claws extended unconsciously. But we try peace first. They left at dawn, Illyra, the 3 alphas, old Fenric as living witness, and Thyra to guard their backs. Marek carried a rubbing of the ancient treaty, the words barely legible but damning in their clarity. The journey south was tense. Illyra was returning to the place that had tried to kill her, walking back into the jaws of fear and hatred. But she wore wolf furs now instead of a death shroud. Her hair had grown wild. Claws marked her as other. She wasn't the sacrifice anymore. She was the queen. They reached the village outskirts at dawn. Farmers working early fields saw them and froze. Then someone screamed. Alarm bells rang across the settlement, a sound Illyra remembered from childhood, the warning of wolf attack. But she didn't run. She walked calmly down the main road, flanked by 3 massive alphas radiating lethal power, and headed straight for the village square. Hundreds of villagers flooded the streets, armed with whatever they could grab. Pitchforks, axes, kitchen knives. Fear made them dangerous, but Illyra saw past the weapons to the terror underneath. They weren't warriors. They were people who'd been told monsters were coming. She would show them the real monsters wore human faces. Elder Merton appeared on the platform where he'd once read her name from the tithe scroll. His face twisted with rage when he saw her. Seize the traitor. Guards moved forward. Illyra didn't flinch. Her voice, amplified by her alpha power, rang across the square. I am no traitor. But you are. The confrontation in the village square lasted 3 hours. Illyra didn't fight with claws or teeth. She fought with words, with evidence, with old Fenric's testimony about the original treaty. When Marek unrolled the ancient rubbing, showing the carved words that established bonding tributes rather than sacrifices, the crowd's anger began to shift. Then Senna pushed through the masses, Illyra's cousin, the girl she'd saved. Senna carried documents stolen from the elders' archives, letters, journals, proof that generations of elders had known the truth and buried it. Let girls die rather than risk powerful bonded alphas. The village turned on Elder Merton. He tried to flee, but farmers who'd lost daughters grabbed him. They wanted blood. Illyra stopped them with a raised hand. He doesn't get to die a martyr. Her judgment was cold, final. You'll live as what you made me, an outcast. Exiled. Alone. Let the cold take you slowly. Merton was stripped, cast out into melting snow. Some villagers cheered. Others wept. All understood. The old order had died. Before leaving, Illyra addressed them one last time. The winter is over. The alphas are healed. Anyone who wants peace can have it. But it will be our peace. On our terms. She walked away, her alphas following, leaving the humans to rebuild from the ashes of their lies. 3 weeks passed. The territory thrived under Illyra's rule. Refugees integrated into pack life, building settlements where human and wolf lived side by side. Children played together, some shifting between forms, others purely human but accepted nonetheless. Trade routes reopened. For the first time in memory, the North knew abundance. But peace never lasted. The messenger arrived on a cold morning, bearing a blood-stained letter. Thyra brought it directly to Illyra, who was mediating a dispute between 2 farmers over water rights. The letter was brief, brutal. The frozen alphas survived by hiding behind a cows. Now they hide behind a human whore. Surrender your territory, or we take it, and your false queen's head. Alpha Garrick of the Bloodfang clan. Keen's rage exploded through the bond. We show them what happens when they threaten our mate. We're still recovering. Roth's pragmatism cut through emotion. A full battle could break us. They're testing us. Marek studied the letter with tactical eyes. They think Illyra is a weakness. Then we prove she's not. Illyra's voice was calm, decided. What are our options? Traditional pack law allows for alpha trial, Thyra explained. Single combat between leaders to settle territorial disputes. The response came within hours. Garrick offered a choice. All 3 alphas fight him at once and look like cowards, or Illyra fights him alone and proves her worth. It was a trap designed to humiliate them regardless. I'll fight him. Illyra's decision was immediate. The alpha's collective panic flooded the bond. Roth gripped her shoulders. Absolutely not. You've been a wolf for 3 weeks. He's been one for 4 centuries. If I don't fight, he'll never stop challenging us. Every pack in the region will see us as weak. Illyra met his gaze steadily. I won't let you fight my battles. You are our mate. Protecting you is our battle. And I'm your queen. Proving myself is mine. The argument lasted hours, but Illyra's will was iron. Finally, the alphas accepted what they couldn't change. Their queen would fight alone. They had 1 week to prepare her. Keen taught her dirty fighting, eyes, throat, groin. Forget honor. Only survival matters. He showed her how to use her smaller size as advantage. Speed, agility, making larger opponents chase and tire. Roth taught her to think like a predator. Read body language. Anticipate moves before they happen. He'll try to dominate you psychologically, resist, and you've already won half the battle. Marek taught mental discipline. Your first blood. Your wolf is stronger than his, but she's young, untrained. You need to believe in her power, or she'll fail you when it matters. The breakthrough came on the 5th day. During sparring with Keen, something inside Illyra finally clicked. Her body blurred, bones cracking and reforming. Then she stood on 4 legs instead of 2. Her wolf form was magnificent, pure white with silver gold eyes, easily 200 pounds of muscle and fury. Even Keen stepped back, impressed and slightly intimidated. Beautiful, he breathed. And terrifying. The night before the trial, Illyra couldn't sleep. She walked to the hot spring where Roth had first kissed her, seeking solitude. But the bond wouldn't allow it. All 3 alphas appeared within minutes, drawn by her distress. What if I'm not strong enough? The fear finally broke through her armor. Roth knelt before her, cupping her face with warm hands. You walked up a frozen mountain barefoot and survived. You broke a 300-year curse. You brought us back from the dead. You are more than strong enough. And if you fall, Keen added, voice rough with emotion, we'll burn the world to avenge you. But you won't fall. Marek's certainty anchored her. They made love under the stars, all 4 of them, renewing the bond, drawing strength from their connection. When dawn broke, Illyra felt ready. The trial took place on neutral ground, a clearing between territories. Hundreds of wolves gathered from multiple packs. This would establish hierarchy across the entire region. Alpha Garrick was everything Illyra expected. Massive, 6'10", radiating cruel confidence. Scars covered his arms and chest, trophies from countless victories. In wolf form, his fur was dark red, like dried blood. He circled her slowly, grinning. You're pretty. I'll make your death quick. The rules were simple, fight to submission or death. No interference. Claws and teeth only. The fight began. Garrick dominated the first round, faster and stronger than Illyra anticipated. He slammed her into the ground repeatedly, toying with her. Drew first blood, claws raking across her ribs. Pain exploded through her, and through the bond, she felt her alpha's agony watching her hurt. Is this your queen? Garrick mocked. She fights like a child. Illyra remembered Keen's training. Use speed. She shifted mid-fight, her white wolf form blindingly fast, and got under Garrick's guard. Her teeth found his leg, tearing deep. He roared, blood spraying. The fight shifted. Garrick tried to dominate her with alpha voice, a compulsion that forced submission. Illyra felt the pressure crushing down, overwhelming urge to bare her throat. But she was bonded to 3 alphas. Their strength flowed through her, and she pushed back with her own alpha command. Garrick staggered, shocked. That's impossible. Murmurs rippled through the watching wolves. She has alpha command. She is a true queen. Desperate now, Garrick lunged for her throat, a killing blow. Illyra didn't dodge. She caught his jaws in her hands, holding them open with impossible strength. Power surged through the bond, Roth's strength, Keen's fury, Marek's precision. Her voice laid with 3 centuries of power, you kneel. Or you die. Golden light exploded from her body. Garrick was forced to his knees, compelled by dominance that transcended individual strength. This wasn't just Illyra fighting. This was Pack incarnate. I am Illyra, queen of the northern wastes, bonded to the frozen alphas. I am first blood. And you will never threaten my pack again. She released him. He collapsed, gasping, defeated. The Bloodfang clan bowed. Garrick, humiliated but alive, conceded through bloody teeth. Your territory is yours. We will not challenge again. As they retreated, Thyra approached Illyra with something like awe. The packs will hear of this. You didn't just win a fight, you established dominance over the entire region. Old Fenric nodded sagely. A queen is not born. She is proven. Today, you were proven. The 3 alphas surrounded her, Roth lifting her off her feet despite her protests, Keen grinning with fierce pride, Marek kissing her forehead with reverent gentleness. You magnificent, terrifying woman, Roth murmured against her hair. I almost felt sorry for him, Keen said. Almost. You're not just our queen anymore. Marek's amber eyes shone. You're the queen. The pack howled celebration into the mountains, and Illyra, blooded, exhausted, victorious, finally understood what she'd become. Not human. Not quite wolf. Something fiercer, forged in ice and blood and love. Something unstoppable. 1 month after the trial, spring had fully claimed the northern wastes. Wildflowers carpeted meadows that had known only snow for 3 centuries. Rivers ran free, their ice broken. Children, both human and wolf, played in fields where corpses had once frozen. The transformation was nothing short of miraculous. The pack had grown to over 300. Integrated refugees, returning shifters, wolves from scattered clans seeking strong leadership. They built towns, established trade, created something that hadn't existed in living memory, peace. But today was different. Today, the entire territory gathered for something unprecedented. The coronation. Ancient pack law required formal recognition of a queen, vows from the alphas, acceptance by the pack, a public claiming that bound ruler to ruled. Preparations had consumed weeks. Now, as the sun reached its zenith, everyone assembled at the restored bonding circle. Illyra was nervous. Thyra helped her dress in a gown of white wolf fur with silver embroidery. Leaving her feet bare, a callback to her sacrifice journey, now a symbol of strength rather than helplessness. You know every wolf in 3 territories will be watching. Thyra's tone was amused. Not helping. Good. You should be nervous. It means you care. Thyra adjusted the gown's shoulders. A queen who doesn't care is a tyrant. A queen who cares too much is weak. You're neither. What am I, then? Ours. Thyra's smile was rare and genuine. You're ours. A commotion at the territory border interrupted preparations. Messengers announced unexpected guests, emissaries from the Council of Packs, the ancient governing body that ruled all wolf clans. Lead Councillor Amora arrived with a dozen attendants, an ancient female alpha with silver fur and eyes that had witnessed centuries. She radiated political cunning wrapped in diplomatic courtesy. "We've heard troubling reports," Amora said, voice carrying authority that made younger wolves instinctively submit. A human bonded to 3 alphas. Territories uniting under new leadership. The old laws did not account for this. The threat was veiled but clear. The council could declare the bond illegitimate, strip the alphas of authority, scatter the pack. Roth's response was calm. The old laws also didn't account for a 300-year curse. "We did what was necessary to survive." Survival, Amora mused. An excellent justification for breaking tradition. The ceremony began despite political tension. The entire pack gathered, hundreds of wolves in human and animal form, surrounding the bonding circle decorated with ice sculptures that Marek's magic kept permanently frozen. Illyra approached from the north, symbolic of her journey through cold into warmth. The 3 alphas waited at the center, and the love flowing through the bond steadied her nerves. Roth presented the crown, forged from enchanted glacier ice, wolf bone, and mountain silver. Beautiful and terrifying, like the queen who would wear it. The vows began. Roth's voice rang clear. "I vow my strength is your shield. Your enemies will face my wrath. Your kingdom will know my protection." Keen followed. "I vow my loyalty is your foundation. Your rule will be unchallenged. Your laws will be my honor." Marek completed the trinity. "I vow my soul is your anchor. Your pain will be my pain. Your joy will be my purpose." Illyra's response came from her heart. "I accept your vows. I claim your strength, your loyalty, your soul. In return, I offer my fire, my will, my heart. We are pack. We are one. We are eternal." The crown was placed. The bond flared visible, golden light connecting all 4, brilliant enough to hurt. Gasps rippled through the audience. Then Counselor Amora interrupted. "This is unprecedented. The old laws. The old laws failed." Illyra's voice carried alpha command now, honed through trial and battle. "They allowed a chaos to fester for 3 centuries. They let packs scatter and territories fall to ruin. I am what the North needs. Not what your laws permit. You are human. I was human. Now I am pack." Illyra met the ancient alpha's gaze without flinching. "And if your council can't adapt, you'll be as obsolete as the curse we broke." Shocked silence. No one spoke to the council this way. Then Amora smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her stern features. "You have fire. Good. The North needs fire." She bowed, and the gesture sent shockwaves through the gathered wolves. "The council recognizes Illyra as Queen of the Northern Wastes. May your rule be long and your pack prosperous." Relief flooded through the bond. They'd won. Not just the battle, but legitimacy. Illyra addressed her people. "For 300 years, this land was divided. Wolves from humans. Pack from pack. Fear from trust. Today, that ends. The Northern Wastes will be a sanctuary. For wolves who've been cast out. For humans who've been forgotten. For anyone who seeks a place where strength is honored, but mercy is not weakness." She announced her first decrees. Integrated settlements where human and wolf lived equally. No forced shifts. Young wolves could choose when to reveal their nature. The sacrifice law abolished permanently. Open borders for any seeking sanctuary, provided they swore loyalty and respected pack law. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Change always met resistance, but overwhelmingly hopeful. That night, the alphas brought Illyra to a hidden den high in the mountains. Vast, warm, with views of the entire territory spread below like a living map. "A queen needs a castle," Roth said. "I need you 3. Everything else is scenery." They celebrated privately, intimately, renewing their bond with touch and whisper and shared breath. The connection pulsed stronger than ever, for souls perfectly aligned. Later, in comfortable silence, Keen asked, "Do you ever regret it? Walking up that mountain?" "Every day." Illyra smiled at their tension. "I regret I didn't get to punch Elder Merton myself." Laughter. Warmth. Home. 1 year later, the Northern Wastes were unrecognizable. Thriving towns, mixed populations, children playing without fear. Trade flourished. Winter came and went naturally, No eternal freeze, just seasons as they were meant to be. Illyra mediated a dispute between farmers, her crown resting casually on a nearby table. She rarely wore it anymore, preferring to be approachable rather than distant. A young wolf cub, maybe 6 years old, approached shyly. "Is it true you were a sacrifice?" Illyra knelt to her level. "Yes." "Were you scared?" "Terrified." "But you're the queen now." "I am." The cub's eyes widened with understanding. "So being scared doesn't mean you can't be strong. Being scared means you're brave enough to do it anyway." From across the square, the 3 alphas watched their mate with expressions of pride and love. "She's good at this," Roth observed. "She's better than good. She's changing the world." Keen's voice held wonder. "She changed our world," Marek corrected softly. As sunset painted the mountains gold and pink, Illyra stood with the young cub's hand in hers, surrounded by the life they'd built from ashes. The 3 alphas joined her, taking their positions beside their queen. Wolves howled in the distance, not mourning, but joy. Illyra looked at her clawed hands, felt the wolf consciousness resting peacefully beneath her skin, and smiled. The girl who'd climbed the frozen mountain was gone. But the queen who'd risen from ice? She was just beginning. The pack was strong. The land was healing. And together, they would build something that would last centuries. "They offered me as a sacrifice," Illyra whispered to the wind. "They expected me to die. Instead, I lived. I loved. I became queen. This is my pack. This is my home. And I will protect it with everything I am. Forever." The sun set over the northern wastes, no longer frozen but alive with color and promise. And in that perfect moment, surrounded by pack and mates and the future they'd fought for, Illyra understood. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from the coldest darkness. Sometimes monsters become heroes. And sometimes, a girl meant to die becomes the queen who saves them all. The end. Did you love Illyra's journey from sacrifice to queen? Craving more fierce heroines and protective alpha wolves? Join my reader community for exclusive bonus scenes, early access to new releases, and behind-the-scenes content about the Northern Wastes pack. What happens when other packs challenge Illyra's rule? How do the alphas handle their first major threat as a bonded unit? And what secrets does the Council of Packs still hide? Subscribe now and get a free bonus epilogue revealing what happened to Elder Merton in exile, and discover the shocking connection between Illyra's grandmother and the original Chaos. Your next adventure in the Northern Wastes awaits. Don't miss it. Join the pack today.